Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Health Minister to meet with Doctors and Nurses Association to assess impact of members. Health experts call for measures to reduce spread. And later in sports, reggae boys depart Ireland ahead of Peru Friendly International. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Hospitalizations continue to increase island-wide as Jamaica battles its fourth wave of COVID-19. The Health Ministry says 486 people have been hospitalized. 44 are severely ill and 18 are critically ill. There are 14,414 active cases on the island. 1,220 cases were recorded on Sunday from 2,875 test samples. 35 of the cases were imported. The overall case count is now 113,458. The positivity rate is now 61.9%. 130 people have recovered from the respiratory illness, bringing the total recoveries to 67,272. Meanwhile, 6 more people have died from the respiratory illness. To date, a total of 2,536 people have died. While the government maintains it will not subject the country to any more lockdowns as a means of curbing rising COVID cases, the health minister is now encouraging persons to, as much as possible, stay indoors. Speaking in Manchester on the weekend, he said he is also concerned about the number of doctors and nurses infected with the virus and will be meeting with their respective associations this week to further assess the impact. Krista Campbell reports.
Startling statistics of biblical proportions.
Yeah, wherever you are, where 2 or 3 are gathered together, COVID is in the midst.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton commenting on the 68% positivity rate recorded on Thursday, the highest since the pandemic hit Jamaica. He says based on the recent trend of the COVID figures, 7 out of every 10 persons are testing positive for the virus. And so despite the 10 o'clock nightly curfews, public gathering limit of 10 persons and other restrictions, he wants persons to stay indoors, at least for the next few weeks as the fourth COVID wave peaks.
And if they can avoid it, stay home or, congregate only where it is absolutely necessary. Enjoy your home cooked meal for the time being. Order, take in, or take out.
The health minister says he's been visiting major hospitals across the island and the situation is the same. They're running out of bed space. But Dr. Tufton is more concerned about the staff shortage at medical facilities.
We're seeing up to 10%, in some instances, sometimes more, of staff that are supposed to or would normally be engaging in providing services, not being able to because they're in isolation. Because they have been infected with the COVID virus.
He says the percentage of sick doctors and nurses is even more troubling.
I was saying at the Bustamante Hospital for Children, where about 60 healthcare workers were absent because of COVID or impacted because of COVID. The number was about 25% for doctors, where 130 doctors working at that facility, nearly 30 or so of them had COVID. Here at Mandeville Hospital, of your 47 or so impacted, the majority of those are nurses.
He says he will be meeting with the junior medical doctors and nurses associations this week to further assess the impact and how best to help. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
In the meantime, health experts are calling for measures to be put in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19. As you hear in this report from Cody and Barrett, the Kingston Public Hospital is among the institutions feeling the effects of the fourth wave.
A relentless Omicron strain of COVID-19 is showing no signs of slowing down as it continues to wreak havoc on the health system. Jamaica is navigating a fourth wave of the virus, and hospitals across the island are once again buckling under the pressure. Despite the Prime Minister holding firm to his position not to order another lockdown, health experts believe now more than ever is the time for something to be done.
We had anticipated that there would be a surge in hospitalization. We had not anticipated that such a significant number of healthcare workers would be off sick. So, who will tend to be sick when the caregivers become sick themselves? That is a question we need to address, and it's a matter of which requires urgent intervention like right now.
More than 50% of the nursing staff scheduled to work yesterday at the Kingston Public Hospital did not show up due to COVID-19. It's the clearest indication yet of the crisis now plaguing hospitals island-wide.
66 registered nurses were expected. 60% of the registered nurses that we expected didn't come to work this morning because they're either in isolation or quarantine.
Now, Dr. Bailey believes the government should implement mandatory vaccination. But head of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions has pushed back to say more communication is needed to address vaccine hesitancy before any step is taken towards making the jab mandatory.
Based on the evidence that has been presented to us and information and advice that we have gotten from our medical personnel as well as our affiliates overseas, we believe in the vaccines, we believe in their efficacy, etc. But what we have a difficulty with is mandatory vaccination, certainly at this time.
In the meantime, Dr. Bailey is again urging the Prime Minister to reconsider his stance on the new measures to slow the spread of the virus.
I understand the Prime Minister's frustration, and I suspect strongly that by the end of this interview, he will retire to a quiet place and do some reflection.
Cody-Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
Several pedestrians, including students, were left stranded this morning as taxi operators withdrew their services in Guys Hill St. Mary to protest the poor condition of the roads. Sandra Williams reports.
At first glance, this line of vehicles along a section of the Guys Hill Main Road could be easily mistaken for traffic, but actually, it's a staged protest as taxi operators who ply the Guys Hill to Highgate route withdrew their services this morning and blocked the road.
The reason for that, we are dealing with the public. And the public who we are dealing with, we have sick people at transport, we have pregnant people at transport, we have children that take to school. And trust me, when we're on the road here, we have big trucks, I use it, every kind of vehicle. As somebody don't use to the road and bad drive, you try to take away from them, you burst a tire. You can't even go over the gully, lose control of the vehicle. And you have to remember, if you care about people, you have to care about who use the road as transport, public.
The protest left students, teachers and other pedestrians stranded, leaving some to walk more than a mile to their destination.
Honestly, I feel a bit disheartened because I was expecting to go to school this morning and then this. But I guess they should fix the road because it's really bad. And when you're going to taxis, you get really tired because of the bad road.
I have exam today and we have been online at school for a period of time, and most students that haven't been online would get the chance today to go to school. And being not able to being transported to school, it's a setback basically.
I am walking all the way from Coronal.
How many miles is that from here?
I'm not even sure, but it's far.
Despite several pleas for the road to be fixed, they claim nothing substantial has been done to address the problem.
The most you'll get is a little filling of the potholes with mud, and this is known to be a rainy area. So by the time you fill it with the mud, you'll get a good look drive on it, and by the time the rain should fall, all of that mall wash out.
The government just speaking of tourism. Then speaking of tourism, what about ecotourism? We will get road. See in Woodside, we try with Woodside, and Woodside now have no road. And Woodside recognize as a tourism package. So St. Mary, you don't need to do something, man. Leaders don't wake up, man. And these are my few words.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Now, TVJ News sought to get a response from Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary, in which Guys Hill Falls, Dr. Maurice Guy. However, calls to his phone went unanswered. And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. The police discovered 930 pounds of compressed ganja during patrols in the planters community of Old Harbour, St. Catherine on Sunday. It's understood that about 4 p.m. a white Toyota Probox was parked off a dirt road. The police approached and a man ran from the vehicle. The vehicle was checked and several garbage bags were found inside with 93 parcels of ganja. Sub-officer in charge of Old Harbour Police, DSP Mark Harris, said the police will keep a close eye on the planters community in Old Harbour as they are suspected to be part of a guns for drug trade. And it's now time for the Business Minute.
In the world of business, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin says local spending on imports increased by 23.3% during January to September last year. The expenditure amounted to $4.3 billion compared to $3.4 billion the prior year. Statin says this was driven mainly by a 62% increase in the importation of fuels and lubricants and a 22% increase in the value of raw materials and intermediate goods. In news overseas, the chairman of global banking giant Credit Suisse, Antonio Horta Osorio, has resigned following an internal probe into his personal conduct, including breaches of COVID-19 rules. According to Reuters, in December, Mr. Horta Osorio had attended a Wimbledon tennis finals in July during a visit to Britain when the country's COVID-19 rules required him to be in quarantine. He leaves less than 9 months after joining the bank to help it recover from major losses sustained during the collapse of Archegos Capital and a corporate spying scandal. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
With the top regional and international stories, here's Sandy Williams.
In the region, the Dominican government says it does not anticipate having to lock down the island in the foreseeable future to deal with a new wave of COVID-19 infections. It has also indicated that it is holding discussions with various stakeholders on whether the country should stage its annual carnival celebrations in March. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt, speaking on his weekly television program on Sunday night, said it was important for members of the population to follow the various health protocols, including wearing of masks and social distancing, in order to curb the spread of the virus that has killed 48 people and infected 7,957 since March 2020. On the international scene, a major winter storm has brought heavy snow and ice to parts of the US and Canada, putting more than 80 million people under weather warnings. More than 145,000 people are without power in some southeastern states, and thousands of flights are cancelled. Virginia, Georgia, and North and South Carolina have all declared states of emergency. The U.S. National Weather Service says more than 1 foot of snow is expected in some areas. It has warned that snow and ice could result in dangerous travel, power outages, and tree damage. There were also forecasts of possible coastal flooding in some areas, including in New York City and parts of Connecticut, with warnings that roads and infrastructure could be affected. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Simon Preston will have your Midday Sports report.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The West Indies under-19 team bowled out Scotland for 95 runs inside 36 overs in match number 8 of the under-19 World Cup at the Warner Park Sports Complex in St Kitts. Shiva Sankar led the way with the ball for the Caribbean side with figures of 3 for 17. Oliver Davidson top scored for Scotland with 43. At sports time, West Indies had reached 54 for 2 after 13 overs. The young Caribbean side are searching for their first win of the tournament after losing the opener to Australia by 6 wickets on Friday. The West Indies will end the group stages on Friday against Sri Lanka, also in St Kitts. Interim head coach of the Reggae Boys, Paul Hall, says he's expecting a competitive performance from his team against Peru in a friendly international on Thursday. Part of the delegation departed the island this morning, and Hall is hoping the players can give him selection challenges for the World Cup qualifiers later this month.
The expectation is down to the players. You know, the expectation is I expect the players to be able to put in a good performance to give me a headache about selection for the next World Cup qualifiers. That's what I'm expecting. The players are in the shop window now. A lot of these players I haven't seen before. I've seen them in training, but I haven't seen them in the battle. So I need to see what they're going to be like against Peru and for them to give me a headache so that I can have selection problems come next week.
Thursday's match kicks off at 4 o'clock Jamaica time. The match will serve as the only practice match for the Reggae Boys ahead of their World Cup qualifier against Mexico at home on January 27. They will then play away to Panama on January 30 before returning home to play Costa Rica on February 2. 5 Reggae Boys have been named in the Caribbean Football Union's Team of 2021. West Ham United striker Mikel Antonio headlines the 11 after notching 14 Premier League goals in the 2021 calendar year. The other Jamaicans in the list comprises Shamar Nicholson, Daniel Johnson, Andre Blake and Ethan Pinnock. The rest of the 11 has 3 Haitian internationals, 2 Surinamese players and 1 player from Martinique. The Reggae Boys will next be in action on Thursday in a friendly international against Peru in Lima. And finally, this afternoon, 7-time winners Portmore United will open their account in the 2022 Jamaica Premier League season against 5-time winners Tivoli Gardens at the UE Captain Horsburgh Centre of Excellence this afternoon. Kick-off is at 3:15. In the curtain raise at 1 o'clock, Vere United will battle Dunby Holden. On Tuesday, Harbourview will entertain Malines United, while Mount Pleasant Academy faces Humber Lion. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it's over to you.
Thanks, Simon. It seems that youthful exuberance is the favourite right now with the West Indies under 19 in Scotland.
Yes, it's doing very well. Their team's solid with bowlers, fast bowlers, spinners, so that's really a strength on their horizon, going quite well for them. Hopefully a victory today and another victory on Friday against Sri Lanka, and they'll be in the quarterfinals of the competition.
All right, thanks, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Ashane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news on behalf of the news, sports and production teams. Good afternoon.